This is the story of a woman whose beauty turned every head in Kano, but no man could ever satisfy her. Her name was Aisha, and her story will show you that not every beauty is a blessing. Some are a curse hiding in a smile. If this is your first time watching our channel, please like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comment section where you're watching from. Now let's begin. Aisha was born in Sebongari, Kano, into a normal family. But from the moment she turned 16, men started losing sleep over her. Her skin shone like wet bronze under the sun. Her eyes were deep and sharp, and her body moved like music. People said she was created on a Sunday morning when God was resting and smiling. By 23, Aisha had broken more hearts than she could count. Every man who touched her left her the next week, sick, confused, or suddenly jobless. But Aisha didn't care. She told her friends with laughter that she already had a body count of more than 2,000 and none of them could make her feel anything real. Her friends called her the flame of Kano, but older women whispered behind her back that her beauty was from the dark side. Aisha didn't believe in such talk. She was proud, confident, and fearless. But inside her heart, something strange was happening. She felt empty, like part of her soul was missing. She started waking up at night sweating, hearing faint voices calling her name. Sometimes she would look in the mirror and feel like someone else was staring back. One night, after another man ran out of her house crying that she was not human, Aisha sat alone and wondered what was wrong with her. She poured herself a drink and said, "Maybe I'm just too much for this world." But as she laughed, her reflection in the mirror slowly smiled back before she even moved. And that was when everything began to change. Aisha woke up late the next morning with a heavy headache. Her house was quiet, but she could feel a strange coldness in the air. The man she spent the night with had disappeared, leaving only his shoes behind. She laughed at first, thinking it was just another weak man who couldn't handle her energy. But when she checked her phone, she saw 15 missed calls from his friend. Moments later, a message popped up. "He collapsed this morning. He's in the hospital." Aisha froze. It wasn't the first time. Men who spent nights with her often fell sick or lost something precious soon after. One had gone blind. Another was hit by a car the next day. Some even said she was a witch. That morning, for the first time, Aisha began to feel scared. She looked around her room. Her mirror seemed to shimmer slightly, as if breathing. She decided to go out and clear her mind. On the street, women pointed fingers and whispered. One said, "That's her, the one that finished my cousin." Another hissed, "Fine face, bad spirits." Aisha ignored them, but her steps felt heavy. The air around her felt thick, like smoke she couldn't see. Later that night, when she lay on her bed, her dream took her to a wide, dry land with red dust everywhere. An old woman in tattered clothes appeared, her eyes burning like fire. The woman said, "You carry what your grandmother asked for. Every man who touches you pays for her sin." Aisha tried to run, but her leg refused to move. The old woman stretched her hand towards her and she felt her chest tighten. She woke up screaming, gasping for breath, her bedsheet soaked with sweat. For the first time, she was truly afraid. Aisha couldn't sleep again after that dream. She sat in her room till dawn staring at the mirror. Her hands shook each time she remembered the old woman's words. She didn't even know her grandmother well. The woman had died before she was born. But now, her heart told her the dream wasn't just a dream. Something was following her. When the morning came, Aisha decided to visit her mother. The woman lived on the outskirts of town, selling local spices and herbs. When Aisha arrived, her mother looked at her with tired eyes. "You don't look fine," she said. "What's chasing you?" Aisha sat down and told her everything. The men, the sickness, the dream. Her mother's face slowly turned pale. She said, "Your grandmother warned me this would happen. I thought it was just a story."
She went inside and brought out an old box wrapped in cloth. Inside was a faded photo of a young woman, her grandmother. Beside it was a small black calabash sealed with wax. Her mother whispered, "Your grandmother made a pact with a river spirit. She wanted to stay beautiful forever, but the spirit asked for blood. Not her blood, but from every man her bloodline touches." Aisha's stomach turned. Before she could ask another question, the small calabash began to shake on its own. Her mother screamed and poured salt on it. The shaking stopped. She looked at Aisha and said, "You must find the herbalist son in Kura village. He's the only one who can end this curse." Aisha stood there trembling. All her pride vanished. She had spent her life laughing at men, breaking hearts, and calling herself untouchable. Now she realized she was the one being used. That night, she packed her bag quietly and left Kano for Kura. She didn't know that what waited for her there would change everything, and not everyone wanted the curse to end. Aisha's journey to Kura was long and dusty. She sat quietly in the bus, her eyes on the road, her mind replaying her mother's words. The other passengers laughed and gossiped, but Aisha was lost in thought. She had always been the woman who made others tremble. Now, she was the one running from something she couldn't see. When the bus finally stopped at the small village, she stepped down and looked around. Kura was peaceful. Narrow roads, clay houses, and the smell of herbs in the air. She asked an old man by the roadside, "Please, where can I find the herbalist's son?" The man squinted and said, "You mean Musa's boy? Go to the riverside. You will see a small hut with red cloth." She thanked him and walked there. The moment she reached the hut, she saw a young man sitting on a wooden stool, grinding herbs. His clothes were simple and his eyes looked calm but sharp. When he raised his head to look at her, she froze. It felt like he could see straight into her soul.
"What brings you here?" he asked. His voice was calm, deep. Aisha swallowed and said, "My name is Aisha. My mother sent me. She said you can help me." The man stood, cleaned his hands and said, "Help you? You are the one carrying the curse of the river woman." Aisha's eyes widened. "How do you know?" she asked. He smiled faintly and said, "Because I've been waiting for you." Before Aisha could speak again, the wind outside rose sharply. The river nearby began to make strange sounds, like a whisper. The man walked to the door and said, "She knows you're here." Aisha's heart began to race. "Who knows?" she asked. The man turned slowly and said, "The spirit that owns your beauty." Aisha felt the ground under her feet tremble. For the first time in her life, she wished she wasn't beautiful. The sky turned grey that evening as Aisha followed the herbalist's son inside the hut. The air smelt of burnt herbs and old incense. He told her to sit down and wait, while he drew strange marks on the floor with white chalk. Aisha's body trembled, but she obeyed. When he finished, he said, "My name is Malik. I am the son of Musa, keeper of river secrets. Your grandmother's pact was made with a water spirit called Lamia. That spirit lives through you now. Every man who sleeps with you pays her debt." Aisha's throat went dry. "So what do I do?" she asked softly. Malik looked at her for a long time before replying. "The only way to break it is to face her yourself. But she will not let go easily. She has tasted too much blood through you." Suddenly, the lamp in the hut flickered. The air grew cold. A low female laugh echoed around them. Aisha jumped to her feet. "What was that?" she screamed. The man didn't move. "She's here," he said calmly. "She's been waiting." Aisha felt a sharp pain in her chest. Her knees gave way and she fell to the ground. Her eyes rolled back and a strange voice came from her mouth, whispering in a language she didn't understand.
Malik grabbed a bowl of salt water and splashed it on her face. She gasped and came back, shaking violently. "She wants to kill me," Aisha cried. Malik knelt beside her. "No," he said. "She wants you to surrender, but you must not." When the wind stopped, Malik helped her to sit again. He looked at her seriously and said, "If you want freedom, you must prepare for war. She will come harder next time. But remember, you are human, and she is only strong if you let her be." That night, as Aisha lay on the mat, her eyes stayed open till morning. Somewhere outside, the river whispered her name again, and she knew the battle had just begun. The next morning, Malik handed Aisha a small gourd filled with herbs and said, "Drink this every night before you sleep. It will make your spirit strong." Aisha took it, still shaking from what happened. She wanted to ask more questions, but Malik was already outside, burning incense by the river. He stood there, chanting words she couldn't understand. She watched him from the doorway, wondering how someone so calm could face things so dark. When he returned, he said, "Tonight we will call her, not to beg, but to command." Aisha's heart pounded. "Command who?" she asked. "The spirit that has owned your life," he said. "We must make her reveal her bond with you." That night, the moon was full, silver light falling on the river. Malik drew a circle of white chalk on the ground and told Aisha to step into it. "No matter what happens," he warned, "do not step out." Aisha nodded and stepped in, clutching the gourd in her hand. Malik began chanting, his voice deep and steady. The wind began to rise, and the water in the river started to glow faintly blue. Suddenly, Aisha felt her body lift slightly. Her hair floated in the air, and her eyes rolled back. A voice, soft but deadly, came from her mouth. "Why have you called me child of dust?" Malik shouted, "Release her. Her soul is not yours." The spirit laughed, a chilling, echoing sound that made the trees shake. "She is mine by blood. Her grandmother offered her before she was even born." Aisha screamed, clutching her chest. Malik threw powder into the fire, and the flames burst high. "Then take me instead," he shouted. The voice stopped. The air went still. For a moment, silence filled the night. Then Aisha collapsed, breathing hard, tears running down her face. Malik knelt beside her, his hands trembling. "You must never offer yourself like that again," she said weakly. He looked at her and whispered, "I didn't do it for you alone. I did it because I know what it means to fight a curse." Aisha realized then that this man wasn't just a healer. He carried his own scars, and he was ready to fight for her. The next few days were tense. Aisha barely slept, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw the river spirit's glowing face, smiling like it already owned her. Malik kept giving her herbs, teaching her prayers, and making her wash her feet at the river every morning before sunrise. The villagers started to notice her. Some stared in fear, others in disgust. A group of women passing by one afternoon pointed and shouted, "That's the cursed woman, the one that finished men in Kano." Aisha tried to ignore them, but one of the women threw a stone and shouted, "You killed my brother, witch!" The stone hit her shoulder. Malik rushed out of the hut, grabbed the woman's wrist, and backed. "Enough!" His voice carried weight, and the women scattered. Aisha sat on the ground shaking. "They hate me," she said softly. Malik sighed. "They don't understand. The world fears what it cannot explain." That evening, Malik told her the final step to break the curse was near. "You must go back to the river alone," he said. "At midnight, stand in the water and call her name 3 times. When she appears, do not run. You must face her." Aisha's heart thudded. "What if she kills me?" Malik looked at her sadly. "If you run, she will never stop chasing you. But if you stand, she will see your strength." When midnight came, the air was heavy and quiet. Aisha walked barefoot to the river. The moonlight made the water shimmer like silver oil. She stepped in slowly, the cold biting her skin. "Lamia!" she called. Her voice echoed. Lamia! She called again. The water rippled. On the third call, the river suddenly boiled like fire. From its depths rose a woman with skin like glass and hair that flowed like water. Her voice was soft and deep. "You dare summon me?" she asked. Aisha's whole body shook, but she stood firm. "I'm not your slave anymore." The spirit smiled, her eyes glowing red. "Then prove it." The river roared like thunder as the spirit rose higher. Her body shimmered, half human, half water. Waves crashed around her, but she didn't move. The cold bit deep into her bones. "You are nothing without me," the spirit hissed. "Your beauty, your power, they are mine." Aisha clenched her fists and shouted, "Then take them back. I don't want them anymore." The spirit's laughter echoed across the river. "You think you can break a promise made in blood?" She raised her hand and the water swelled violently, pulling her down to her knees. Aisha screamed, fighting to stay upright, but the current dragged harder. Just when her strength was fading, a flash of light burst through the darkness. Malik appeared at the river bank, chanting loudly, holding a burning charm in his hand. "Release her. By the law of creation, your time is over." The spirit turned to him with rage. "You dare interfere, son of Musa?" She spat. The waves rose, slapping the shore like angry hands. Malik threw the charm into the water. A blinding flash filled the river, and Aisha felt something rip out of her chest, a heavy, dark presence that screamed as it left her body. The spirit shrieked, twisting violently before collapsing back into the river with a splash. The water went still. The air went silent. Aisha fell forward, gasping, her body trembling. Malik ran to her, lifted her up gently, and whispered, "It's over."
But as they turned to leave, the moonlight flickered, and a faint whisper came from the water. "It's never over." Malik stopped, eyes narrowing. "Go," he said quickly. "Don't look back." Aisha wanted to ask why, but her heart told her to obey. She ran barefoot out of the river, tears mixing with the night air. Behind her, the river rippled once, quietly, as if watching her leave. By morning, the sun rose softly over Kura. Aisha sat outside Malik's hut, wrapped in a shawl, staring at the calm river in the distance. Her body felt weak but light, as if a heavy chain had finally been lifted from her soul. Malik brought her a bowl of herbs and said, "Drink, it will help your spirit rest." She drank quietly, her hands still shaking. "She's gone," Aisha whispered. Malik nodded slowly. "For now. The curse is broken, but you must live wisely. If pride returns, she will return too." Aisha looked down, remembering her old life. The endless parties, the fake smiles, the men she used and forgot. 2,000 bodies and still she had felt nothing. For the first time, tears filled her eyes, not from fear, but regret. "I destroyed too many lives," she said. Malik sat beside her. "You were a victim too, but now you can become something better." Later that day, they went to the river one last time. Malik handed her a small calabash and said, "Throw this in. It holds the last of her power." Aisha stepped into the shallow water, lifted the calabash, and said, "I release you. I release myself." She threw it hard, and when it hit the water, it sank instantly. The surface rippled once, then went still. When she turned around, Malik smiled faintly. "You are free now." Aisha smiled back, weak but peaceful. "What about you?" she asked. He looked at the sky. "My work is done." Weeks later, Aisha left Kura quietly. She returned to Kano, but this time she lived differently. She started a small herbal store, helping sick people, praying daily, staying far from her old ways. The men who once chased her now passed her by like strangers, and she didn't mind. Sometimes at night, she would hear the faint sound of water flowing even when there was no rain. She would close her eyes, whisper a prayer, and smile. For the first time in her life, she felt peace. Not the kind that came from men, but the kind that came from freedom. And that was how the most desired woman in Kano finally found her soul again.